I'm Hannah Howard, the editor-in-chief at ParentCo, and I'm so excited to be here today with Courtney Zentz, our new sleep expert and the founder of Tiny Transitions. Hi, Courtney, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start with a little bit about you, Courtney. How did you become to be an expert on baby and kid sleep?
So I got into this career about 12 years ago. I came from a space of sleep deprivation. I was at the time working full-time in the corporate world. I was home with my son on maternity leave, and I frankly felt really lost and alone. I didn't feel like I had a village, and I didn't really enjoy the maternity leave as much as I would have hoped because I was so overwhelmed with trying to be this perfect parent who was also chronically sleep deprived. It was just every day a bit of a mess. And I realized like there has to be things in this I can control biologically to make, my day a bit better, and also to help at the time my son to have a little bit more structure or routine or consistency when every day seemed just a bit like a dumpster fire. So I started to go down the path of research, as I do, the chronic school junkie in me, and started to realize, hey, there are things that we can do with children. And it really just set off this massive alarm in my head of like, oh my gosh, I feel so passionate about all of what I'm learning. Oh, by the way, it's working. But then I also incorporated things like nursing, and I really wanted to better understand how nursing and sleep were connected. I went back and became a certified lactation counselor, then became a postpartum doula, did additional like infant mental health trainings, a sleep certification. So all kinds of different things over the past 12 years that have led me to where we are today, which is helping families all over the world with good sleep.
I think it's so important. I knew as a new mom, being exhausted was one of the hardest things to like live with and deal with, and really hard to cope. What is one thing that you wish that they knew, or one piece of advice you can leave them with?
My advice, as always, with parents is understand the things you can control to make sure you're supporting your new child in that way first. And then you look for the things that you can't seem to control or that seem off or misaligned. I kind of implore parents to just give yourself grace. Like, it's a very big transitional period. You're learning about each other, and you have this unique child that, some stuff's going to be consistent across the newborn phase and some stuff's going to be unique to your family, and that's okay.
Can you talk a little bit about moving from newborn sleep to baby sleep to toddler sleep, and how parents can think about those transitions as time marches on?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first year of life, there's a couple things that are pretty consistent, right? A child needs a specific amount of sleep, they need a specific amount of milk, and they really need a specific kind of time balance of naps to create a balanced day. The first 3 months of life, babies generally sleep in 50% REM, 50% non-REM sleep. So, a lot of times parents will say, oh, it's the 3 or 4 month sleep regression. And it's like, well, there's shifts happening and there's developmental changes. It doesn't necessarily have to mean it's a regression, right? Your child is going from this particular pattern of sleep to between 3 and 4 months, it becomes more of a cyclical pattern. So every 45 to 60 minutes, they start to pass through these cycles. Their body's creating a circadian rhythm, and it starts to become a bit more ebbs and flows from a balance standpoint, which is where you kind of make that shift from newborn to infancy between 3 and 4 months. And then after that, you start to have the consolidation of naps, which can bring parents a bit of balance in the day. I know a lot of times people are like, I want to put my baby on a schedule. And it's like, well, you really can't. You have to manage their awake windows when they're first born and make sure they're getting the right intake. But schedules kind of come around 5 or 6 months when you have consistency, you have, feeding more balanced and aligned, and you have the right timing in the day, and that's going to really impact how well a child settles at bedtime, how well they sleep through the night, right? That question I get all the time. When should a baby sleep through the night? It depends. When they get 24 to 32 ounces of milk in the day, when they have the independent ability to settle to sleep, right? And when they have the right timing, and that's really the balance of the day, for that question. So it could be at 3 months and it could be at 6 months. It really just depends on the situation. How much intake is the child getting? Do they have the skill? And then is the day balanced?
Is there a myth or a misunderstanding around sleep that you wish you could correct?
First, you can actually teach a newborn to sleep from birth. So how a baby learns to settle to sleep is what they come to expect as far as how they go to sleep. And then when they wake and pass through cycles overnight, if the only way they've ever been put to sleep is rocking to sleep, they don't magically learn. It's what they expect. So then every 45 to 60 minutes, they're passing through a cycle, they wake up and they expect to be rocked back to sleep. It's not sleep training when it comes to newborns. It's starting with developing a skill, and that slow and steady skill of, one nap a day in the crib or bassinet where the baby's swaddled, they're on their back. It's about 45 minutes and you just lay them down. And if their diapers changed and they're fed and they're really getting ready for that nap, they'll settle themselves to sleep. And it could take a couple days of practice, right? Without any tears.
Swaddling is something that I did not know anything about before I became a mom. I think it's super important. So tell us, what is swaddling? What, why, how?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always tell parents, go back and look at that ultrasound at 20 weeks, right? And see where baby's hands were. If they spent 9 months like this, or 9 months like this, or 9 months like this, that is often, when you're looking at swaddles, one of the first things you want to look at. If you buy a swaddle where their arms are up, but for 9 months their arms were down, they might not be comfortable in that swaddle. I know a lot with TOG ratings. Making sure you understand what the temperature is in your space based on the season, and then looking at the TOG rating on the particular swaddle to understand, is baby going to be too hot, too cold? And you always check from a temperature standpoint for the chest or the back to make sure that there's not, sweatiness or clamminess when you're trying to check temperature.
So you talked about kind of laying the foundation for healthy sleep from the start. Any advice from that, like just kind of ways that we can be planting these seeds from the really early days of good sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, it really comes down to 5 fundamentals. So look at their biological need based on their age. The second thing you want to look at is the nap timing. Overtired in a child for the next 18 years of life is probably the most detrimental thing to sleep, because it triggers stimulant hormones that cause trouble settling, multiple night wakings, and early morning wakings. So sometimes parents misunderstand that and they think their child got a second wind, but in reality, they're missing the window, and then their child goes into overtired and it makes it really hard for them to settle, right? So understanding the nap timing. The third thing is looking at a routine that works for your family, right? Make that bedtime routine something that is consistent and repeatable. It doesn't need to be this long drawn out thing, but sometimes if it's not a bath or a shower, it's just a warm washcloth to the face that kind of kicks off the fact that, it's bedtime and you're going to start kind of unwinding in a calm, cool space to do that, reading books, saying prayers, singing songs. Make sure the sleep environment is comfortable. It's got to be dark. Make sure they have the right swaddle on. Make sure the temperature in the room is good, right? All of those variables when it comes to that bedtime routine and the consistency in getting a child down for sleeping, right? The fourth part of that is really the ability to settle themselves to sleep. So you have to look at the situation and go, does my child actually have the ability to go to sleep independently? Or am I something that they need to do that, right? To sleep is usually the variable. I say, like, can your child go to sleep or do they need your help to sleep? And if you're somewhere in that equation of putting the pacifier in to sleep, nursing to sleep, riding to sleep, anything like that, you have an association that you are going to have to at some point wean away from, right? And then the fifth thing is managing consistency, because you can totally mitigate sleep regressions even through developmental leaps as long as you understand the boundaries of how your growing child has changed and what needs to change as they grow. And then you can often skip right past regressions. When children have a great solid foundation of skill, they often breeze right through all of those common challenges that people will say, hey, just wait for the next sleep regression. It's like, well, you don't necessarily have to have any. If, you're going to have developmental leaps, you're going to have the first time your child stands in the crib and gets really excited and then doesn't know how to get back down. But if you approach it in the right manner, you can mitigate it causing a bigger issue. I think it's just start with what you control. And then when you build that strong foundation, right, it is slow and steady progress. It's looking at the right swaddle, making sure it's the right fabric. It's looking at the right temperature, the right environment. Is the room dark enough? Are they getting enough intake? All of these things are small pieces of a puzzle. I think often people generalize it as, I'm going to sleep train a baby. And it's like, well, you could pick the method you want, But if you're missing all these other things, it's never going to work. And that makes it harder on them and you, frankly. So it's coming with a whole understanding of where the deficiencies are in sleep and then building the right path for you and your family to move forward in that.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited about all the things that we are going to learn from you together about sleep. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time. And thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate it. And I'm very excited to continue educating this year.